Welcome to Shul.com. We are talking about an interesting character. His name was Efron. Avraham Avinu wants to bury Sarah in Parashat Hayei Sarah, and he's looking for a place. He goes to Hebron and he finds a piece of land. He sees Bnei Chet there. Those are the people that are currently living on that land, and he wants to take the land. He wants to buy the land. They offer him the land for free. He says, no, I want to buy it. He says, get me through to Efron ben Sohar, who's the person who currently has, I guess, the rights to this land, and they end up securing the amount. Abraham asks him how much. He tells him, Be'eni u bencha mahi 400 shekel kesef. It's 400 between me and you. What's the big deal? So if you look at the Mefarshim, specifically the Ben Ish Chai Naderet Eliyahu, tells you, why did he request 400, this Efron ben Sohar? Let's take a look. Because when he told Abraham, see, Efron had a bad eye. He had ayin hara on Abraham. He wanted to put, some negative energies and ayin hara all on Avraham Avinu's monies, but he didn't want Avraham Avinu to be able to feel it. So he told them, if he was going to tell them 400, Avraham would have said 400, that's not a good number. And if you look at the Gemara, and if you look at a lot of places, 4, 40, and 400 always denote things of negativity. You could see him like Arba Mitot Beit Din. If you look at the Gemara, many cases of people who had hardships, it was in the number of 400. So it's interesting. But that has because it ties itself to ayin hara. But over here, Efron wanted the 400, but he didn't know how to say it in a way that to Avraham, without Avraham understanding that he was trying to put ayin hara on him. So he tells him, look, your name is Avraham, my name is Efron. If you take the two middle letters of both of our names, it's 200 and 200. It's 400. Let's take a look. See, Efron, you have a resh. Resh is 200. You have Avraham, it's a resh, 200. He said 200 and 200. It's 400. So he tells him, Be'eni u bencha, between me and you, both of our names, you have 400. Okay, very nice. Now, what's also interesting is that the Adet Eliyahu says that later on, the Torah removes the vav from Efron for a few reasons. First, it removes it because he was at A'ayin, and if you take Gematria 400, it equals at A'ayin. That was just talking about Efron, and the word Efron without a vav is also ra'ayin to tell you who he was, as the Ben Ish Chai brings down. What's interesting is that later on in the Navi, in Shmuel Bet Perek Kaf Daled, David HaMelech wants to acquire also land, and he wants to acquire it from Aravna Yebusi. He was the king, Aravna, and he had on Harabait like an area to thresh out all of the wheat and the grains in order to make flour. And that's what he was using the land for when there was a destruction amongst Klal Yisrael, where many people were dying every day. The Navi tells David HaMelech that you have to go buy this land and you have to make a mizbeach on it. And he ends up doing it. He ends up buying it for 50 shekel kesef. Later on, if you look at the at Divrei Hayamim says actually that he paid over there shesh me'ot shekle zahav, that he paid 600 gold coins, not silver. I've heard before that some people come up and they say that he gave it 600 silver. According to what I was looking up today, it was 600 gold in Divrei Hayamim or 50 silver, one of the two opinions, and he ends up buying it. This is a very, very important topic because there's many claims on the land of Israel. Leave aside that God gave it to Avraham Avinu, who gave it to Yitzhak, they gave it to Yaakov. Leave that aside. That's a prophecy. But the bottom line is, the most important areas of the Jewish faith were purchased, even though it was seemingly belonged to the Jewish nation. When it came to MeArat HaMachpela, Avraham Avinu was offered it for free, but he refuses it. He buys it from Efron. When it came to Aravna Yebusi, which is Har HaBayit, that's where the Beit HaMikdash is, he pays for it and he buys it. Which is interesting, there's a shul in Yerushalayim called the Mosayev Synagogue. It was built by Rav Shlomo Mosayev. He was a Bukharian individual. He came from Bukhara. At the time when he came from Bukhara, he came with donkeys laden with gold and silver. He was very, very rich. He built the whole Shchunat HaBukharim in Israel, and he built the Mosayev Synagogue, which is still standing till today. It's a beautiful synagogue, a makom of kedusha, which I recommend everybody to go pray there. What's interesting about this Shchunat HaBukharim and of Shlomo Mosayev is that he had a grandson, and his grandson used to live in England. Shlomo Mosayev's grandson was an art collector. He had a jewelry store in London. He was very rich. He also married somebody who was very wealthy. He has a daughter who, lo alenu, ended up, marrying the king, I think, of Iceland, some goy. I don't know how much she's part of the Jewish faith anymore, but Shlomo Mosayev was an art collector, and he seemingly had bought a document that he claims was the original document that Avraham Avinu made Efron Hittite sign, and supposedly it's still in his possession. He passed away a few years ago. I've never seen it, but I have seen a lot of stuff from Shlomo Mosayev because we had a gabbai in Yerushalayim who was a good friend of ours, Avraham Cohen, and he was friends with Shlomo Mosayev. And so we used to get some glimpse from time to time and stories of this individual, this art collector. He said he claimed he had the paper. He used to wear a ring on his finger which had on it like a menorah. It was from the Kohen Gadol, from the second Beit HaMikdash. He was a very interesting character, this guy. And so that document exists. And also when it comes to Har HaBayit, those two areas were purchased. Even though they seemingly were given to us by God, they were followed up by a purchase agreement. I'm reading from Otsar Ishya Tanakh about this individual Efron. He's got a lot of stuff written about him. It says here, Efron, Ze Malach Hanikra Duma. Okay, but Lama Nitkena Shemo Efron, Al Shehu Memuna Al Shochne Afar. So his name was Efron from the word Afar, dirt, because there's a Malach named Duma who's in charge of the Afar. And it connects the two. It's brought down in the Zohar. Now, the next piece in the Zohar. Im Efron haya ro'eh be'MeArat HaMachpela ma shera'a Avraham lo haya mochra le'olam. If Efron saw what Avraham Avinu saw in the cave, he would never have sold it. V'lo ra'a ba ela choshech. He just saw darkness in there. He saw a useless cave. It was said, I read in a few of the places, that there was noises coming out of the place. He thought it was haunted with ghosts and shedim. He didn't want anything to do with this place. Meaning someone coming along, it wasn't prime real estate. Nobody wanted that place. That's where he sold. He was annoyed with that piece of land. When he noticed that someone of the stature of Avraham Avinu, who was respected around the whole world, he killed the 4 and the 5. He challenged and won the war of the 4 and the 5 kings. He challenged Nimrod and won. He knew about Eliezer, about Og. People knew Avraham Avinu was very important, and when Avraham Avinu showed some value to that land, the price shot up. It says in Shemot Rabbah, Mina'uhu oto hayom Moshe alehim. That day they made Efron a leader amongst them. Amrulo, they told him, Machor et HaMe'arat Avraham. They told, the Bnei Chet told him. Now you can understand why it was Bnei Chet and Efron going back and forth. They told him, listen, you're the leader that we appointed you, and we're telling you, you better sell it to him. Amar lehem eni mochralo. So Efron says, I'm not selling it, I'm the leader, I make that decision. Amru lo im en ata mochralo anu ma'avrim otcha megedulatcha. They said, no problem, don't sell it to him, we're removing you from being the moshel. Miyad amad Avraham v'shekal lo. Right away, Abraham went there and he started weighing and giving him the money. The next piece on Midrash Agadam Bereshit, it says, Haya Avraham shokel takesef leEfron. He would be counting and measuring the weight of all the silver. And Efron, as he's putting it down, is stealing it. Therefore, when the Torah mentions at the end, it misses the vav to signify that he was stealing from Avraham. Efron, in Bereshit Rabbah, it's brought down. Efron hichnis ayin hara b'mamano shel Avraham. He put a bad eye on the money of Avraham. V'lo yada ki hased yeve'inu. And he didn't know that the haser, the lacking, is going to be coming from him. Shechasata haTorah vav, that the Torah removed the vav from him. Zeu shekatuv ve'ishkol Avraham le'Efron haser vav. Who cares? Can I ask you a question? Why would Efron care that the Torah removed the vav from his name? 2 reasons. One, the Adet Eliyahu, the Ben Ish Chai says, you know why? Because if there was no vav, then the Beni u'Bencha would have been a resh and a resh pei, because these two are seemingly the center ones. So it would have been 480. So he lacked himself 80. Because he opened his mouth, the peh, Gimatria 80, the letter peh is in 80. So because he opened his mouth, the peh, he lost 80. If he would have kept his mouth shut, he would have got another 80 coins, maybe, or maybe even more. because it's interesting is whenever this is the rule of salesmen that I used to hear in business, is that never be the first one to say a price. Always let the other party start. So Efron didn't know that rule, and he dealt with Avraham Avinu, who was a good salesman, and he knew how to deal. Now, furthermore, Avraham Avinu was ready to pay 1,000 silver coins that he won from the war, from the 4 and the 5 kings. He was ready to pay it. The problem was he waited for Efron. It wasn't a problem. Efron called the number, so he said, "Oh, you want 400? No problem, 400." He had another 600 behind. That's why it's brought down in some of the Mefarshim that the 600 was later given by David. It could have been that the 600 was going to be gold and the 400 was going to be silver, because if you look at the Divrei Hayamim, it doesn't say that it was silver. With David HaMelech, it says it was gold. So this is a couple of very interesting parts on Efron, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'amen.